DJ Metal Craig of Craig's Metal Storm here. I have one of the members of Gravehuffer with me today. Hey, how's it going? Would you like to introduce yourself and what position you do in the band?
Well, Craig, I want to thank you for having me tonight. And my name is Ritchie Randall. I play guitar for Gravehuffer. And I also help Mike Gilgi, our bass player, write the music. And I occasionally write lyrics, and I occasionally do background screaming and grunting and all that stuff. So,
Please go back in the history of Gravehuffer and how the band all got started.
well, we got started. Gosh, it's been 2008. So, going on 13 years now. It's kind of crazy. But yeah, myself and our bass player, Mike, again, we had been jamming together since like 1997, I believe. We were in another band, and we did some touring and released a couple of EPs. And, we had that writing chemistry down pat. And so when Mike and I decided we were going to do music again, we gave each other a call and we formed what was actually called Crom at the time, but we changed the name to Gravehuffer because Crom was getting confused with other bands of the same name. So yeah, we've been doing it since then, and I've had a few member changes here and there, but pretty much Mike and I have been steering the ship for the most part. So yeah, that's pretty much how it started and how it's still going.
This one's always going, and it'll probably get you laughing like it always does. How did you guys come up with the band name Gravehuffer?
Well, yeah, we actually just thought it sounded cool. It doesn't really have any big meaning behind it or anything, but a friend of ours named Dozer had a band that he was going to start called Gravehuffer. And when we were looking to change our name to that, we were just throwing names at the wall and not finding anything that would stick. And I can't remember who suggested, but they said, what about Dozer? He's got that cool name Gravehuffer, and he never did get that band going. Maybe we can just ask him to use the name. So we asked him. He said, sure, as long as you give me some free shirts and stuff every once in a while. So basically, yeah, we just thought it was a friend of ours that had a cool band name, and we kind of just stole it from him. So thanks, Dozer.
Who are the band's musical influences?
Well, for me, I'm kind of like a classic rock, heavy metal, thrash, death metal kind of guy. I'd say Deep Purple kind of and Rainbow, Ritchie Blackmore kind of got me started. And then Judas Priest was kind of, I say they were the ones that really made me want to play guitar in particular. Because before that, I wasn't real sure. I thought maybe I wanted to play drums. And I still kind of gravitate towards drums. I like them, but I'm not a very good player. But yeah, and then I graduated into the thrash and like your Slayers and Metallicas and Megadeths, Anthrax, your big four. And then, getting into more of the death metal, like your Morbid Angels and Cannibal Corpse, and even into some industrial stuff like Godflesh. I even listened to kind of the shredder stuff, like Steve Vai and Joe Satriani, and I was a guitar nerd. You couldn't help it. It's kind of what you get into when you start playing. And I still listen to that stuff. Like I still love Steve Vai. Listen to him today, actually. I just think he's a really good composer and big influence. But yeah, that's pretty much where I kind of plateaued was at death metal. And I've gotten into some other stuff since then, more eclectic kind of stuff. But as far as the other guys, I can't speak for them necessarily. But Mike's more of the punk rocker in the band, and I remember him saying something about Suicidal Tendencies. Their first record's the one that really got him going on the music kind of train or whatever you want to call it. And Black Flag and what all else? Trying to think of some other stuff he liked. Circle Jerks, of course, the Ramones, and just that whole punk kind of thing. And I think he kind of got into some of the thrash and death metal as well, even black metal. We both kind of get into some of that older black metal too, Dark Throne, Emperor, and stuff like that. But then we do listen to weird stuff like old Pink Floyd and Devo, just all kinds of weird stuff. So yeah, and then Travis, our singer, is a huge Frank Zappa fan. He likes John Zorn and weird stuff, and all the way up to like Brutal Truth and Mike Patton and Faith No More, and the list goes on and on. I mean, I could probably talk about influences forever, but yeah, those are some of the main ones.
Right on, man. And as a vocalist myself, some of my influences are stuff like Glenn Benton, Kevin Sharp. I listen to stuff like Porcupine Tree for some clean singing influences, Iron Maiden, Cannibal Corpse, the old stuff. I like George Fisher too, but the old stuff with Barnes is a little bit more harsh and aggressive. You agree with me on that one?
Sure.
Like, such awesome influences in music in general, man. Such a great scene. Very diverse, very eclectic. Very good to have as an outlet to talk about and everything. We could go on hours shooting this shit about music. You know that.
Right. Mm-hmm. For sure.
Yeah. What are the band's immediate music career goals?
Well, immediately, I guess it's playing shows again. Due to the whole pandemic not allowing that. I think playing shows is pretty much the first thing on the radar, and we've got some shows coming up. So I'm not sure when this interview is going to air, but we're going to play a show on May 1st in Springfield, Missouri. It's about an hour away. We're going to play at the Outland Ballroom, which is a really cool place. Speaking of Cannibal Corpse, they actually played there. Some pretty big bands have went through there. So we're excited to play a stage that, Cannibal Corpse has played, pretty cool. And we're playing with 3 other bands that are from Springfield. We're the only out-of-towner, but it's Brand of Freak, Coventry Sacrifice, and Spider Corpse. So yeah, it should be a good time, and we're hoping a lot of people turn up. And I'd say next on the agenda is finding a new drummer. We lost our drummer, Jay. He ended up moving away, and it was just too much for him to drive back and forth 4 hours, one way, 4 hours the other way just to practice. I mean, it was hard to navigate that. So, he works full time. We work full time. I mean, if we were just making money on the band, we could make it work. But with everybody having day jobs, it was just, the distance was just too great. So yeah, we're going to be looking for a new drummer, and we're already getting that process started. And then we're recording our next project. I'm not going to say release or full length or anything, because it's a little bit a different kind of deal. It's a 3-part song based on Dante's Divine Comedy. And it starts out Inferno, then to Purgatory, and then to Paradise. And it's like 3 kind of sections. And we've got it written, and we've even got it demoed out. We just need to get figure out who we're going to play drums on the thing. So yeah, that's the next project we're doing, and it's going to be a split on vinyl. And the other side of the split will be a band from the Atlanta, Georgia area called Murder Van. I don't know if you've heard of them or not, but they're pretty badass. I think their drummer used to be in Nuclear Assault or toured with them or something, if I remember right. So yeah, they're pretty cool, and they're actually recording their side of the split in Mastodon's studio down in Atlanta. So that's another cool connection. So yeah, that's what we got going on, Craig.
Right on, man. And before we get into the next one, which is a good one, would you mind talking about the song that I felt was Viking influenced, based on Amarth from Your Fault, Destroyer of Worlds, I think it was.
Yeah, that Destroyer's that was one I brought to the band, and yeah, it does kind of have an Amarth kind of vibe to it. Yeah, that one's about America dropping the atomic bomb, and it's more, I guess, about the guy who invented the technology, which is Robert Oppenheimer. He's a German guy, and he really, I guess, didn't want to do. He didn't want it used for that, and so when that happened, when they did the test for it, he was in tears and just couldn't believe that it was happening. And so it was kind of written in his viewpoint. So war's kind of a, bad deal. So, without getting too heavy, but yeah, that's Destroyer of Worlds, man. It's basically a quote from Bhagavad Gita, it's an Indian god.
Right on. You guys did 3 albums so far that are currently out and released. What have the reviews been like? And would you like to talk about these releases and the lineups that were involved in them and how the reviews were for each particular album?
Yeah, Blasphemy Music was the first one, and that and Your Fault both had the same lineup. And Blasphemy Music really didn't have a ton of reviews because we were just kind of getting our name out there. But it had decent reviews. I'd say like a lot of 3 out of 5 kind of reviews. There were those people that like really liked it, and it was usually people that were into the more the punk rock kind of thing. So yeah, that was kind of my take on that. Your Fault kind of had a little bit more, what do I want to call it? A little more seamless, a little more consistency to it, and it still kind of had the punk vibes as well, but a little bit more of the kind of metally stuff kind of creeping in there. And it got slightly better reviews than Blasphemy Music did. So I feel like it was a good step. We did release a 2-song EP, Demon Face Stalingrad's Cross, that I feel was a really good like bridge between Your Fault and the new one, Necro Occlusion, because it was a little bit experimental and kind of a little bit different than what we had done before. Songs had both songs had lots of tempo changes, and we introduced some different instrumentation like banjo and pedal steel guitars and stuff like that. And then Your Fault was finally released on vinyl, and we did a couple bonus tracks. One of them was actually the song Your Fault, and Carlo Regatas from Carcass played the solo on that, which is just amazing. I still just love that. And I still talk to Carlo to this day. Super nice guy. And then Necro Occlusion has really, I feel, the reviews for it have taken quite a big jump, like 9 out of 10 reviews, and like we've even had 1 or 2 just 10 out of 10. And I feel like it's kind of one of those records that people, I don't know, I feel like people seem to, we've had a lot more reviews for it too. I just feel like it's an album that people seem to really like more than any of our other ones. So yeah, I think Black Doomba Records, them releasing it and using a PR team really helped that. And if you don't know who Black Doomba Records are, the owner is Tommy Stewart, and he was in Hollow's Eve. They were a thrash band from the 80s, and they were on Metal Blade Records. And so Tommy's kind of been in the business and the industry, and he's toured with Slayer and Motorhead, and he knows what's going on. And so we trust Tommy's judgment when it comes to this kind of stuff. And he promotes his bands, and heck, he books mini tours and stuff for us. And he's a real go-getter. I love the guy. And but yeah, as far as Necro Occlusion, it was released on vinyl through Black Doomba Records, and it was just so cool to have that on record. And it's a 3-color splatter, like yellow, red, and black, and it just looks so cool, and cool art, really cool package. And Chewy from Voivod plays one of the solos, and then Coran Murphy from Annihilator plays the solo. And so, I mean, it's pretty badass. I'm really, really proud of Necro Occlusion.
Right on, and that's awesome, man. Also, just so you know, in my personal opinion, that Blasphemy Music one you did, I feel was more of a hardcore / punk style album to me.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
for Your Fault, it went more hardcore / sludgy, in my opinion. That's how I feel that one.
Yeah. Hmm.
because those ones were both really killer to me. They hit home with me when you first gave them to me back in the old radio station I worked for.
Yeah.
What was the purpose behind the album title for Blast from Music?
Um, that was something Mike came up with, and I don't know where he got that. To be honest, I think it was just one of those things where it was just kind of a cool sounding title. I think it was just kind of a cool play on words, and instead of blasphemy, blaspheme music. It's kind of like evil music is pretty much what it means.
Right on. What was the purpose behind the album title Your Fault?
Your fault? Um, you know, it's kind of weird. We actually got the art for that album before we named it, and when the artist, it's a big painting actually, and when he gave it to us, that's just the first phrase that popped in my head. It was like this. It's like this whale that's taking a flooded Washington D.C. basically, and he's giving death a ride and showing him like, look what happened. This is all human beings' fault, you know. And so your could mean anybody, whoever's reading or looking at the art. Maybe it's your fault. I mean, my fault. It could be anybody's fault. But if you if the shoe fits, wear it. I guess. If you feel like it's maybe your fault, then possibly it is. But yeah, it's just about accountability and you know maybe don't be such a dick and don't litter and pollute and just be a good human being. I feel like that's basically what that title is boils down to.
Would you mind talking about the artists used for the two albums, Blast from Music and Your Fault?
Blast Music was done by Carl Dahmer, and he goes by Dahmer Art, and he does he's done stuff for Killswitch Engage. Um, he's done stuff for like The Exorcist, like some of the reissue stuff for that. I mean, he's done all kinds of just like really big stuff. And we actually, the second show we ever played, he was in the crowd, and that's where we got to know him. And so we've known him ever since he first started doing his art. So we thought, well, he's perfect for getting him to do the record. So yeah, he's done that. Um, he's done art for several of our shirts. He's done quite a few things. I mean, we still work with him still to this day. He did a piece of art for the new record for a poster and shirt design. I mean, we always work with Carl. He's a great guy. And then Your Fault is done by a friend of ours, Eric Sweet, which he also did the Necro Occlusion album cover. And we've known him ever since. We've probably known him 30 plus years. And he's just a good friend of ours, a good friend of my family's. And he's been doing, he does like paintings, and we take pictures of the paintings for the art. So he's old school, and he also teaches in Texas at the University of San Antonio, I believe. He's a professor down there. He teaches art and he teaches Italian and some other stuff. But dude's super, super brilliant. But yeah, I mean, we just kind of told him the basic. I think what we did was we gave him the lyrics to Your Fault. That's what it was, and then that's what he came up with.
Right on. What were the
Yeah.
themes and concepts for the song Shut Up and Skate?
I'm sorry. What was the question?
What were the themes and concepts for the song Shut Up and Skate?
Oh, themes and concepts. Oh, okay, yeah. Pretty shut up and skate, pretty much. That's an old skateboard saying from the early '80s. I'm trying to think. I think Zorlak was the one that came up with that, and it was just kind of a thing, man, back then because I skated, Mike skated, and we were always, shut up and skate. Basically, it's just about getting up in the morning and going to the 7-Eleven and getting your Slurpee and going to hit the pavement, you know. Asphalt cracking beneath your wheels and under the weight of your board. And, you know, James wrote the lyrics, and, you know, he wrote a real cool description of just skateboarding around town with your friends. I mean, it's pretty simple, pretty basic. And we made a cool video for it, and we just got a bunch of local skaters and skaters that used to live in the area. They sent us all their stuff on their Instagram and stuff like that, and we just pulled it off there and combined it into a video, and it was a lot of fun.
Right on. This next one is a good one. Who was the person that designed the video for Shut Up and Skate?
Pretty much, it was pretty much Mike and myself. Like, I collected all the footage, and then Mike put it all together. And then we just kind of talked about where certain footage, where we wanted it to coincide with. Like, I remember telling him the only thing I could think of specifically was the way the video starts, and it's this guy in a swimming pool, and he opens a champagne bottle with the trucks of his skateboard. And I was like, dude, as soon as his trucks open that bottle, that's when the song needs to start. And it's just really cool. Like, it was a cool impact for an intro for sure. And so, yeah, it's just basically local skaters and skaters we've known throughout the years. And it's just a compilation. And it's just our tribute to the skateboard scene here in Joplin.
That's so cool, man. We'll be right back with Ritchie in a few moments after a short break. And we're back with Ritchie now on the airwaves here for the interview. And the next one I want him to get to talk about is, you would consider more of a grindcore-based style / hardcore-based style, in my opinion, on blast music. What made you guys decide to branch out your sound and go to a different genre and refine the sound of your music on the next album, Your Fault?
I think part of it just was us being comfortable playing together again. And when Blasphemy music was recorded, it was kind of like songs that were there were a few of the songs on there that I had nothing to do with. It was stuff that the rest of the guys in the band had written previously. And then there were songs that I brought to the band, like completed songs. And I think Your Fault, when we did it was more a collaborative effort. Like, it was just stuff that we were writing as we were recording them, or writing, playing them live, and then, you know, kind of a written on the road, so to speak, if that makes any sense. And so Your Fault's got a little bit more of a cohesive kind of vibe to it, I think, because of that. Because, you know, we were writing all together instead of writing at home and then bringing it to the practice space. So that's the main difference there.
Pardon me there, Ritchie. Throat's a little
No
dry.
Problem. No, sure.
You even harnessed your sound more for the album Demon Face, the EP, branch out even more to a bit of a traditional death metal sound for the EP, but still kept your musical diversity. What made you decide to do this?
You know, I'm not real sure why we ended up doing it that way. I feel like when we were when Demon Face and Stalingrad's Cross, those were actually songs that they probably were going to end up on Necro Occlusion. They were written during that kind of time frame, but they just happened to be songs that were the most complete when No Slip Records asked us to do an EP. So yeah, that was basically it. No Slip Records asked us if we would want to put out a 7-inch EP, and we're like, okay. And those two songs just happened to be the ones that were the most complete, and so that's basically where that came from. And that was just the frame of mind we were in. And at this point, we had just lost our drummer Larry, which he had been with us for 10 years or whatever. And so it was just me and Mike and James. And Mike and I were just writing music by ourselves. And so that's probably why Demon Face and Stalingrad sounds that way. It's just because it was Mike and I basically sitting in a bedroom and just writing music through our little practice amps. So
cool, man. I have a question for you in regards to the lineup for the first 3 albums. Who was all in that lineup, and what instruments did they do?
Well, it was James Heiser on vocals for all the first 2 albums in the EP. I play guitar, Mike plays bass, and then Larry played drums. There is a bonus track on the Your Fault vinyl edition called No Boundaries, No Borders. And we had a friend of ours named Matt Browning that played drums. And he was in a band called Public Assassin that was from Springfield, Missouri. And the guy that actually replaced him in the band way back when was Richard Christie, who was in Death. So kind of a cool little tidbit there. And then the Demon Face Stalingrad's Cross EP, we had Casey Denton play drums, and he's another Springfield drummer. So he was just helping us out until we found a more local, permanent drummer.
Cool, man. And I know Rich Christie did 2 projects. The other one you might not have heard of, you mentioned Death. I don't know if you've heard of Burning Inside, which did 2 albums with Richard Christie on drums.
Yeah, Burning Inside, they're from Springfield.
They're a cool man.
Yeah. The guitarist for one of the guitar players for Public Assassin was also in Burning Inside. I think it's Steve, and he passed away here a few years ago.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, Steve. They call him Tragenda, and he was also an Acheron, and gosh, who else? Can't remember who else. But yeah, Burning Inside, they're kind of local guys.
In your opinion, what genres would you guys say you mix to get the sound you're going to carry for the album you're releasing for Black Doomer Records titled Necro Occlusion?
Can you repeat the first part of that? I missed it.
In your opinion, what genres would you guys say you mix to get the sound you're going to carry for the album you're releasing for Black Doomer Records, Necro Occlusion?
I feel like Necro Occlusion was, we just got our new drummer, Jay, and he's a little younger than us, so he brought more of, what am I trying to say here? His influences were a little different. You know, he was into more of that late 90s, kind of early 2000s metal. And I'm not even exactly sure. Like, I'm trying to think of what all he was into. He was really into a band called Daughters. He was into Bloodbath, which I love them too. But he was into a lot of the stuff we liked as well. But he also kind of had some of that, like Carnifex, Converge, Candiria, Locust, just some of that really crazy spastic kind of stuff. And so he brought that kind of vibe with some of the stuff he did. And during the recording of Necro Occlusion, our singer James ended up leaving the band. And so that kind of threw a little bit of curveball into things. So we weren't sure what we were going to do initially. We thought, well, Jay and I could sing or whatever. But Jay, our old drummer, he ended up singing about half the record. And then we had singer auditions, and we ended up getting Travis, which is weird because him and our old singer James are like best friends. So, and they used to be in a band together, kind of crazy. But Travis, he sings on about half the record. I sing on maybe a fifth of the record or something like that. But we all kind of pitched in, and which I felt like it gave it an old Neurosis vibe with the multiple layers of vocals. But like if Neurosis played fast, like their old stuff, but more of the kind of death metal kind of vibes. And I've heard people say there's like some black metal influences on this new record, and I can kind of hear it now. At first I didn't quite get it, but I think part of it, there's a lot of like fast picking and a lot of that old school black metal blast beat going on. And I think Jay's vocals and Travis's vocals kind of have that kind of shriek going on. So yeah, That's a style that we hadn't really messed with before, so it was pretty cool to get that going. And then Mike and I, we had been listening to a lot of the latest Dark Throne, the Old Star album, and so that must have snuck its way into the record. But yeah, Necro Occlusion, it was weird. We were writing on the fly a lot of it. So, and there were a few things that Mike and I were writing during, when we were writing Demon Face Stalingrad's Cross, even that carried over into Necro Occlusion. And there were even a few things we wrote and recorded that day, on the same day. Songs like Causes, we just wrote and recorded it that day.
Right on, man. Would you mind talking about the themes and concepts behind the song Causes that you just mentioned?
Yeah. Causes, pretty emotional one, that song. The lyrics are actually, they're not even, nobody in the band even wrote them. It was actually a poem by a friend of ours, a recently deceased friend of ours. And we did that as a tribute to him. And his name was Ryan Smith. And he was a big deal here in Joplin, big deal on the scene. And he had an acoustic band with a friend of ours, Stan Bowman, and they went by Vaginal Discharge. And he would pour cottage cheese all over himself and just do all this crazy stuff. And they were just super outrageous. And but anyway, Ryan was a really good writer too. He wrote a lot of poems, and he had a website for his poems, and he had one called Causes, and it just fit perfect with the music. We didn't have to edit the poem at all. And so that was kind of like profound. We were like, wow, that was just too perfect. So, and musically speaking, like I mentioned, we just kind of wrote it on the fly. I think Mike actually wrote that one on bass guitar. And, we told Jay, like, hey, we're going to write and record this song today. And he was very uncomfortable with that because that's not how he works. But we did it more to prove a point to him that, like, you can do these things and you don't have to play something 100 times. And we were trying to get more of a spontaneous vibe with Causes.
Right on. And this next one that I want to ask you is, how does it feel being signed to Black Doomba Records?
Oh man, that's awesome. Like I was talking to you earlier, Tommy Stewart, he was in Hollow's Eve, and they were on Metal Blade Records. And Tommy's he's a great guy. He helps us book shows, and he really promotes his bands well. And I mean, we just couldn't be more happy with Black Doomba Records. I feel like the partnership is just amazing, and they help us out any way possible. I mean, they've by far the best label we've ever been with.
Also, this next one's a good one. You have shirts through Seasons of Mist. Would you like to talk about that too?
Oh yeah, that's actually really cool. That's another thing that Tommy with Black Doomba helped us get. It's a print on demand service with Season of Mist, and the main reason we did it was for the international shipping costs. It just costs so much money to ship a damn shirt overseas. I mean, it costs more to ship it than it does to, buy the shirt. So that eliminates the shipping costs. Somebody in Germany can order a hoodie and only pay a few dollars shipping versus 20. And we've actually sold hoodies in Germany. So that's why I brought that up. But so yeah, and we have people in the UK that are talking about buying shirts, or maybe they have. I can't remember, but it just it helps mainly with the international aspect. But it's really cool having that online option to just say, hey, Season of Mist, we have this design. Can you throw it on a shirt? And they're like, yes. And so we just submit artwork and they put it together for us, and boom, there's a t-shirt. So yeah, that Season of Mist has been awesome to work with. And I'm hoping, we'll continue to work with them in the future. So, because it's been fantastic.
I get what you're saying there. Seasons of Mist is a great label. I've actually done a few interviews for them,
Mm-hmm.
One of them was Kevin Sharp for Venomous Concept.
Oh, yeah. Nice.
He is cool, man. I love talking.
Yeah, he's He's a he's something else. I talked to him at a couple of Brutal Truth shows back in the late '90s. Super nice guy.
I met him just shortly after I quit drinking in 2010 at a Brutal Truth show, and they were doing their documentary here in Winnipeg, Manitoba.
Oh yeah, nice.
Like that was a cool time. And
I
you
bet.
mentioned Clear Assault. I think the bass player is in Brutal Truth as well, was he not?
Oh yeah, Danny Wilker. Yep, he sure
Yeah,
is.
he's cool too. I talked to him a bit, and he was
Oh yeah.
laughing to places, man.
Oh
So
yeah.
down there.
Yeah, he's hilarious. That's
He
like
is.
he's always like talking about getting high.
Does anyone in the band have any band gear endorsements or other stuff?
Yeah, actually, we've got quite a few endorsements. I mean, we're all endorsed by Solar Guitars and Basses, Arachnid Cabinets. They're out of California. They did custom cabinets for us that are just incredible. Like mine is spray painted silver, and it looks like somebody murdered somebody above it. It just looks like blood splatter all over it. Really, really cool. And then Mike's is similar. His are white, but his splatter is like it matches the art of the. He's got Godzilla, and then he's got an Eric Sweet painting, which is the guy that did our last two album covers on the top cabinet. So yeah, they'll do anything you want. It's killer. Like mine says Gravehuffer on it, and it's got the Pentagrave logo, and it's got like all this crazy freaking looks like demons and stuff in hell or something. It's pretty wild. Um, and then let's see what else. We're Pig Hog cables are another one that we use a lot, and Intune guitar picks, SIT strings, Firebird straps, custom audio mutation amplifiers. Corinne Murphy, the guy that was in Annihilator, he's the one that builds those amps. Excuse me. And Seymour Duncan pickups. Gosh, I always feel like I'm forgetting somebody, but I think that's all of them. But yeah, Maverick Apparel, or a clothing company, but yeah, dude, we work with a lot of cool companies that give us discounts on gear, and so yeah, and we help promote them. They help promote us, and I mean it's great networking with other gear companies, and you got each other's back. What more can I say?
Right on. There was one you didn't mention that you had an endorsement by Firebird Straps.
No, I said Firebird.
Okay, I thought
I
you
did mention
missed them. My bad.
Yeah, I got them. They're actually based out of a town in Arkansas just south of us called Fayetteville. And he makes all of his straps out of recycled belts and straps and all kinds of leather. And, he does all kinds of crazy stuff to them. He puts these metal badges on them and stamps them and brands them with hammers and chisels. And he puts my initials in them and shapes it to whatever shape I want. Puts studs and spikes and just whatever. So really cool.
Cool. I might have to get him to make a custom strap for my bass player when we get back going.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I can get you in touch with him. Let me know.
Yeah, I will. Let me tell you this, though, Ritchie, your strap looks absolutely killer and crazy.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I love them. I've got like 5 of them now.
Nice. Also,
Yeah.
that new album, Necro Occlusion, I jammed it a bit before the interview and everything. Besides jamming some stuff on YouTube that are personal favorites of mine that take me up to do interviews. The album is absolutely awesome.
Thanks, man. Yeah, everybody seems to like it so far. It's definitely another step forward for Gravehuffer, I think.
Yeah, it definitely is. And you guys changed your sound big time. You kept some of your old roots, but you brought in some new elements like traditional death metal, some black metal. I noticed a bit of sludge metal on some of the tracks too, where your slower breakdowns are that you probably didn't notice in your songs.
Yeah, there were some parts like at the end of a song called Backpack, for instance, and which is about Khalif Browder. He was a young kid. He was like 15 or whatever, and he got thrown into Rikers Island in New York and put in solitary confinement. And he was in there for like several years, and it was just why would you put a kid in solitary confinement? It was awful. We ended up like killing himself because it just messed with him mentally. So we just thought it was something that people needed to know about. But anyway, the end of that song does kind of have a slow breakdown ish kind of thing. I mean, it's just, to me, I was thinking more of like, what would Celtic Frost do? so we just like, they would always do kind of those really slow parts like that.
I get what you're saying there, Richie. Doom metal, yeah. Sludge metal for that end of that track, man.
Yeah, for sure.
And this next one's a good one. What made you guys want to cover the song that you did on the album by the Bee Gees?
Death Before Disco. That was Mike's idea. That was totally Mike. He's had been wanting to do a Death Before Disco song ever since we were in that band in the late 90s. Like, he was wanting to do it even way, way, way back then. And so initially he wanted to do Staying Alive, but he's like, the bass line kind of sucks in that one. Let's do You Should Be Dancing. So he's like, all right, I'm going to learn the bass line. So if I learn the bass line, we got to do it. We're like, yeah, whatever. And so we come into practice one day, and he plays the bass line, you should be dancing. And we're like, I guess we're doing it, huh? And he just dies laughing. And so I learned my guitar part. We had a friend of ours come and play horns, and Travis and myself were singing the high parts. And we just thought it'd be funny to like have, a DJ announce and everything. And we had some sound effects for crowd noise and all that stuff. And we did, I think we just did a verse and a chorus of the Bee Gees. And then it slams in with that kind of like Brutal Truth, kind of like punk grind kind of thing. And it's basically about, it's about how disco music was just really lame and plastic, and all people cared about was getting high and doing coke. And they didn't really care about the music. And so basically the song's about how Noise Supreme is the music of the day or whatever. So yeah, it's kind of got that Brutal Truth, Napalm Death kind of vibe going. So yeah, it was a lot of fun though.
Right on. This next one's gonna get you really laughing. Please give some vocal tips or advice and techniques for starting up bands to help them out.
Man, I could give guitar tips. I don't know about vocal tips. If Travis was here, maybe he could, but I don't know. Just try it. I mean, personally, I never thought I was going to be singing death metal or singing high or whatever. I just tried it, and you never know what your voice can do until you try it. So that's my tip of the day, I guess, is just try it. And you don't know what your voice is capable of until you just try to do what you're hearing in your head, or trying to imitate Rob Halford, or trying to imitate Glenn Benton or David Vincent, or, whoever, I mean, that's how you get started, is you just imitate your favorite singers and try to sing along in key and in pitch. I was lucky to have a good ear. My pitch is pretty good. I think a lot of that was taking guitar lessons that helped train my ear to know what was in tune and what wasn't. But yeah, it's like I said, just, you never know until you try.
I get what you're saying there. I'm going to share a little something from me here right now. You remember how Kevin Sharp's high sound?
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Sounds a lot like Kevin Sharp. And then I could go into lows like Gun Benton.
Nice.
Love changing up. It's not easy to change up,
yeah,
because if you don't do it just right, you'll throw your voice out.
Yeah, that's the thing. You don't want to
since I was 16, man.
Yeah, you don't want to push it too hard, because if you do the distortions like that, you can hurt your voice. And it's kind of weird. You gotta almost sing not quiet, but if you sing too loud, you're pushing too much, and it will damage your voice.
Yeah, another little trick I know for myself that works is I bring it partially from the throat, but I bring most of it from the diaphragm.
Right. Yeah,
So I get a little bit of
definitely.
that harsh edge sound that's got a dry Fear Factory edge. You understand what I'm saying?
Yep. Yep.
This
For
next
sure.
one's really going to get you fired up. Please give
Uh-huh.
some guitar tips, advice, or techniques for starting out bands.
Well, for me, it was a combination of taking lessons and learning on my own. I took lessons for about 5 years, and then I felt like that was, I don't know, I felt like that was it for me. And I felt like it trained my ear. Like I can pretty much hear anything and just about play it, now. And I think taking lessons did help with that. But that doesn't, it's not the same for every person. Some people may really not do well with lessons. Some people may need that guidance. I think it just depends on the person. So, but yeah, I mean, you got to practice. You got to put in all those hours at first, until you get to the point to where you're comfortable and you can express what you're hearing in your head and play it. Um, and I can pretty much do that. I never really have been much of a soloist. I like that style, but it's just never something that I was really got into playing all that much. And so I never concentrated on playing leads and stuff that much because I just never, I don't know, there's something about it. I just never got as into it. I was more into like playing heavy rhythms and, chunky parts and just, going fast on the lower end of the spectrum. And, each player is different. That's all I can really suggest is just follow your heart and, what you're into, and your influences and what makes your soul like come out.
Cool, man. And just so you know, your guitar playing, the style I noticed a little bit of it in you for your fast parts is Jack Owen and Pat O'Brien from Cannibal Corpse.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, I can kind of see that a little bit. I feel like I do gravitate more towards that older style of death metal, thrash, heavy metal. So yeah, that makes sense.
The other guy I noticed a bit of your guitar playing style like is the guy from Exodus.
Oh yeah, I could. Gary Holt.
Yep.
Yeah, I could totally see that. I love me some old school '80s thrash, and yeah, I like that kind of thrashy kind of chords, and it's like moving chords around real fast, and so yeah, I can totally see that, totally hear that, I guess.
My two favorite songs that I feel might have influenced your guitar playing that I know some of your picking styles towards is the song Good Day to Die and Objection Overruled by
Oh
Exodus.
yeah, yeah, I could. Good Day to Die and Objection Overruled. I can totally see that. Those are good ones.
Yeah, they really are, man. This next one is a good one, and it's going to get you really laughing. What advice do you have for people that are starting out as bands to help them get their promotion out there and to help them get signed?
Um, for me and for the band, I feel
Yeah.
like it's just being persistent. Um, and I've learned some lessons with that about being too persistent at times. Um, but the thing about that is, if you're too persistent, people let you know, and you can just dial it back a little bit. But if you don't try hard enough, you're never gonna know. So, and then always ask. It never hurts to ask. That's how I started getting the band the endorsements. I just started asking and emailing and hitting people up. Um, to me, that's the most important thing. Networking with people, doing interviews, all these things helps to promote your band and you're late, getting signed or whatever. So, I mean, you can't rely on word of mouth for everything. You've got to help you help yourself. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Is just be persistent and don't be afraid to ask and hit people up.
Cool. Be right back with Ritchie after a short little break. All right, we're back with Ritchie Randall of this interview with Gravehoffer, and we got 3 more for the interview, and then we are out of here, and I'll need a station ID.
Okay.
How have the reviews been for the album you released titled Necro Occlusion via Black Duma Records so far?
Man, like I kind of brought it up a little bit earlier, but the reviews for Necro Occlusion have been just the best we've ever had. And not only that, but we've had like 3 or 4 times more reviews than we ever had for Your Fault or Blast of Music put together, really. And part of that is being on Black Duma Records and the promotion team that they have. They use Dewar PR a lot for their public relations. And Curtis is a great guy, fellow Canadian, by the way. And, he does really good work, and he sends stuff out, and he gets us in touch with people for interviews, all that stuff, and sends the record out to the radio and to different people for reviews. And so, yeah, it's been fantastic. Like we got in Metal Injection thanks to him, and twice actually. And there's a couple other, pretty big name sites that reviewed our stuff and premiered things like videos, and like Metal Injection premiered our Ghost Dance video. And to me, I was super proud of that because, Metal Injection, like that's a big deal. So that was kind of a major milestone for us with something like that. And yeah, I mean, Necro Occlusion, I feel like we deserved it, man. You know what I mean? I don't mind tooting my own horn a little bit and patting myself on the back. We worked really, really hard on this record. We wanted it to be just right, all the way down to the artwork and the way the record looks, the way the lyric looks on the layout, on the insert, all that stuff, the way the album was sequenced, what song starts side 1, what song starts side 2, how the record ends on each side, all the, the mood and the journey that the record takes you through. I mean, we thought about that stuff very, very, for a long time. It was something we worked real hard at. And even the production, Mike, we kind of let him have the reins on that. He wanted like a really dark sounding record and kind of a raw sound, but something that sounded more like old 80s, like, like Hella Waits or something, that kind of old, kind of thrashy sound. But then the toms had this really big, huge sound to them. And, we were just trying to go for something different than what we had prior. And I feel like that's what we're going to do with everything we release. Is we're always going to try something a little bit different, a new wrinkle, or, a new step, new progression.
Right on. Would you mind talking about how it felt being in Metal Injection?
Yeah, that was something, man. I mean, honestly, that, and there was I think No Clean Singing was another. We got reviewed by them, and Jay, our old drummer, that was one of his milestones. He goes, that's my go-to website for music, and he goes, seeing my band in there, he goes, it just blew my mind. And that was the way it was with Metal Injection, seeing our name in there and seeing, Metal Injection premieres Gravehuffer's Ghost Dance in honor of Native Americans. I mean, that just blew my mind. And there were a lot of people that were like, hey, I saw your stuff on Metal Injection today. And I mean, it's so cool having your friends message you and comment on social media or text you or whatever, saying, hey, I saw you on Metal Injection. It was a big deal, man. And I was very, very proud. Very proud moment indeed.
Right on, man. And just so you know, Metal Injection's a big magazine. I love all the stuff they put out. They're really powerful for promotion. Also, would you mind talking about the video for Ghost Dance and who was the one used to produce it?
Yeah, Ghost Dance is that was actually the first set of, well, no, I'm not, the second set of lyrics that our new singer Travis wrote. And man, wow, we were blown away. He brought those lyrics and we're like, wow, Travis, this is amazing. It's just really, really well written. And I think the idea or the subject was something that I read about it, and I thought that would be, it was like Wounded Knee Massacre, and I've never really heard too many people talk about that, and it's terrible. They did, I think they called it the Battle of Wounded Knee, but there wasn't a battle. I mean, the Native Americans didn't even get to fight. You know, the United States government made them give up their guns and their weapons, and then they just massacred them. They slaughtered them there. And to me, that was a very, very powerful thing that we should never forget. And so that was mainly the main reason I thought it'd be important to write a song about it. But as far as the video that you were asking about, Mike actually put that together through just footage that he found on the internet. And then we had a friend of ours through our custom audio mutation amplifier contact that he'd put the lyrics on top of it. We thought it had to be a lyric video because, you know, the words have that much impact. And so that was basically it, you know. And a lot of the actual ghost dance footage is in there. Like, it's footage of an actual ghost dance from way, way, way back. You know, early 1900s, I believe. You know, some Native Americans still were doing that. They didn't really have, since they had no weapons, that's all they knew what to do was to try to curse the government. So, you know, that's all they knew. So yeah, it's pretty sad, but at the same time, we don't want that to ever happen again. So yeah, that's why we wrote about it.
And just so you know, the video is absolutely amazing, powerful, and deep, in my opinion.
Thank you. That was the intent for sure.
That leads us to the last two for the interview now. What new band news do you have on the Gravehoffer front, as in anything we haven't covered so far in this interview?
Well, I mean, we're just booking shows, man. I mean, we're playing in Tampa, Florida, at the Tampa Death Fest at the end of September, I think, October 1st. Sorry, we're playing the Maryland Doom Fest on Halloween weekend. And we're going to be playing a bunch of shows in between. Black Duma Records is booking us some shows, and so yeah, fall, late summer, early fall, late fall. You know, we're going to be hitting the road. So that's kind of where our sights are set right now. And also, we're going to have a couple of special guests on this new split that we're doing. Cam Lee from Massacre is doing a special guest vocal, and James Murphy from Testament, Cancer, Obituary, Death, etc., is doing a guitar solo on it. So yeah, that's going to be really, really cool.
Right on, man. And Cam Lee is an awesome dude. I actually interviewed him before.
Oh, cool. That's awesome. Yeah, he's a super nice guy.
Yeah, he's real down to earth and awesome, man. And James Murphy, I hope to eventually get an interview with him at some point set up for one of the stations.
He's really right. Yeah, I'm sure he'll do it. He's super nice too.
Yeah. Those are the last questions for the interview, and then I need a station ID from you.
Okay.
Is there anything you'd like to plug before we get out of this interview? As in anything we haven't touched on the interview that you would like to get out to listeners, like something you're looking for your band?
I can't really think of anything else. Just shows in the new split that we're doing with Murder Van, and then I've just the whole Cam Lee and James Murphy little bombshell there. Yeah, I mean that's pretty much what we've got our sights set on. I think we've pretty much covered everything, and yeah. Oh, yeah. I did remember something. Mike and I will be going to NAMM next January in California. That's basically equipment, like, I don't know what you call it exactly, but basically all these equipment and music equipment places and companies, they get together at NAMM and present their new items and all this stuff to the general public before it's released. And so we're going to be with Arachnid cabinets and solar guitars in their booths doing some demonstrations. So